Rich Cimini has came out with a new report adding fuel to the fire that Garrett Wilson could be on the trade block this coming offseason, and this has massive implications on the New York Jets, as if they trade their star wide receiver, they are going to be down a star wide receiver. So what's up, guys? Welcome to Jets Digest. I'm Matt. Please, if you aren't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot. If you want to help me reach my subscriber goal of 2,000 subscribers, please hit that subscribe button. But hopping into the video, on his Flight Deck podcast, Rich Cimini reported that people in Garrett Wilson's circle believe that the star wide receiver will ask for a trade after the season. Cimini made sure to include that this is just speculation on the part of the people close to Garrett Wilson, but they believe that a trade request is inevitable at this stage of Garrett Wilson's career. So this, of course, is adding more fuel to the fire, like I said before, of the report that we got 8 days ago that Garrett Wilson, if the situation did not improve with the New York Jets, that he would be requesting a trade in the coming offseason. And surprise, surprise, the situation did not improve. Even with Aaron Rodgers in the fold at quarterback, a full healthy year of Aaron Rodgers, the Jets' passing offense did not get better. And Garrett Wilson has massive contract disputes, talks, whatever you want to call them, coming up with the Jets and any other team. And the New York Jets are bringing him down in those talks. So we saw Garrett Wilson, in the offseason, there was a report that there was rumblings. 8 days ago, it was only rumblings. Now, people close to him believe that he's also going to be demanding this trade. This is a consistent, scary trend, all pointing towards Garrett Wilson officially demanding a trade off of the New York Jets. And it is all the evidence is pointing to this actually happening. Him being a superstar wide receiver, potentially. The Jets failing over and over and over again. Every single year, they can't put a team around him, even though all he needs is good quarterback play, and he's going to go crazy. Aaron Rodgers' numbers have been great this year, but you can't point at Aaron Rodgers and tell me that's a great quarterback. Garrett Wilson still deserves better than what he's getting this year. Aaron Rodgers, you bring him in to take you down the field in game-winning drives. He only did that against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm giving him exactly zero credit for that because the Jacksonville Jaguars have no secondary and they want to win games. The Jacksonville Jaguars want to lose games. Something important coming up here is Garrett Wilson's contract situation. He is in the third year of his rookie contract. The way that rookie contracts work in the NFL is they're a 4-year deal with a team option on the 5th year. So we see here, Garrett Wilson, under contract, the 4 years, 2022 through 2025. 2026 is when that team option comes into play. The New York Jets will either pick that up or not pick that up. They're going to pick it up after this season. Garrett Wilson is then eligible after that 5 years. Should he not receive an additional contract, he will be eligible for the franchise tag, which will be the top 5 wide receiver contracts in the league averaged out. And that's what he will get for 1 season. He'll get that money. After that, the New York Jets will be eligible again to franchise tag Garrett Wilson a second time. These are things that they can do. These are not things that they should do. The last time we made a video about this Garrett Wilson trade request, which is looking increasingly likely with all the information that we're gaining, people in the comments were saying he can't go anywhere because the Jets control him for the next 4 years. And you are correct. The people saying that are correct. The thing is, that's not how you run a franchise. You can't hold players hostage. The New York Jets are already a poorly ran franchise and they don't win football games. The last thing you want to do is go out and give free agents more of a reason not to come to the Jets. If the Jets are holding players hostage, there is no way a free agent is ever going to go to New York, no matter how much money they want to throw at them, because, spoiler alert, other teams in the NFL have money to throw at these wide receivers too. Garrett Wilson can get paid by someone else. Another one of the arguments was once the GM of the New York Jets, we don't know who it's going to be yet, but once he shows them the money, then Garrett Wilson will, stop talking. He's going to sign the contract. But that's just not the case, because when you're an elite player like this, you're in high demand. And everyone's receivers in a more and more pass-happy league, they're always in demand. So Garrett Wilson's going to get a ton of money somewhere, whether it's the Jets or someone else. So looking at, does he deserve does he deserve to be moved off this team? Of course he does. There's no young player who's a star player like a Sauce Gardner, like a Garrett Wilson, who deserves to be on the Jets. The Jets are mired in not even mediocrity, just can't get the deal done year after year. I'm sure I don't have to tell that to anyone watching this video. So the problem with Garrett Wilson as opposed to Sauce Gardner is Garrett Wilson is dependent on the offensive situation around him. His numbers is what's going to get him paid. When he is going to the New York Jets or a different team to get paid in the offseason, what he's going to point to is his numbers and say, I'm worth this amount of money because I put up this amount of yards. And the GM is going to say, you're actually worth this amount of money because you put up this amount of yards. So it's all about the numbers. And Garrett Wilson is being held back by the New York Jets offense situation, and he knows it. So he's not no sucker. He knows that he can do better with better quarterbacking and that a better team would theoretically give him better numbers. So he'd be able to sign a bigger contract. Looking at Garrett Wilson, it's easy to see that this is a great player. Coming 10th overall pick, super athletic player coming out of Ohio State. He put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson as his quarterback. I mean, the man's a great player. We know he's a great player. He's a fiery competitor. On the sideline, he's not always unhappy, but when things aren't going his way, he doesn't just sit there and take it. He gets angry at it, and we can see that on the sidelines, and we need players like that. We need guys who bring the energy, but in this situation, the energy is going to culminate in a trade request. It is unfortunate, but we got to just look at all the evidence mounting up. The report from last week, the situation from the last 2 years, and then this year, it just doesn't make sense for Garrett Wilson to play here. I know I'm just going to come out and say it. He is my favorite player on the New York Jets. So I don't want to see him go. But it makes all the sense in the world for him to demand a trade. And it makes all the sense in the world for the Jets to then go ahead and trade him. Looking at what they are going to get, a star wide receiver in a contract year, he's going to be traded for a first-round pick. They might be able to get a little bit more on top of it, or they might have to send like a 7th-round pick. But it's going to be pretty much a first-round pick. And usually the team trading away the star wide receiver uses that pick on another wide receiver. We saw it 2 years ago or 3 years ago. The Titans traded away A.J. Brown, drafted Treylon Burks. We saw it 2 years before that. The Minnesota Vikings traded away Stephon Diggs, and then they drafted Justin Jefferson. So this is the way it goes. The New York Jets' plan would most likely be trading for a first-round pick, then draft another wide receiver. There are a couple good ones in this draft class. A player in the range we would get, I think it's going to be the Chargers who trade for him. So I'm hoping we can get Emeka Egbuka with that pick. He's not as good as Garrett Wilson. That's not a secret at all. He's not as good as Garrett is, but he's going to be cheaper, and hopefully he's going to actually want to play for the New York Jets. So that is the way that's going to go. Garrett Wilson, in theory, he is worth more than a first-round pick. But the problem is when he demands a trade, he lowers his value. And if the Jets shop him in the offseason, people are going to understand that there's stuff going around behind the scenes. So these news reports are also lowering his value. So we're not going to be able to get what I know a lot of people think that he's worth, which would be like a first-round pick and a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick as well on top. I would love to get a package like that, but it's just not realistic because the GMs in the NFL, some of them aren't as good as the other ones, but they're still pretty close to the 32 smartest football managerial minds in the world. They're not going to overpay for Garrett Wilson. They're going to collectively understand that if the Jets are asking for a first-round pick and another like day 2 pick or a really high day 3 pick, they're going to understand that other teams are not clamoring to pay that price and that they can wait for the asking price to go down on Garrett Wilson. The next step for this is we're just waiting to see when the trade request comes because, unfortunately, it's coming. Whether it's granted or not, that remains to be seen, but he definitely deserves to get traded. What I'm rooting for now is not even that we don't trade him. I'm just hoping that we get a good return for him because I am a big fan of his and I want to see him go crazy. If it can't be on the Jets and if he says he doesn't want to be on the Jets, he's earned a better situation. He absolutely has. He's balled out for us. He has been a great player his entire life. Great, I believe he was the number 2 recruit coming out of high school. He's a really good player. He deserves better than the New York Jets. But no matter where he goes, I'm always going to be here talking about the New York Jets. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and as always, go Jets.